Studio right now. It's 2 minutes gone past 11 this morning, folks. We have a very, very special guest. Her name is Candice Paul. She is a professional artiste and writer. Her first novel, Spiritual Warfare, is a bestseller in religious fiction, and she's here with us this morning in the studios. Candice, good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Janelle. I am just so happy to be here. It's an honor.
It is good to have you. I heard you were coming earlier this week, and I said spiritual warfare. Immediately, I was interested. But before we get to your bestseller, tell us a bit more about Candice. Who's Candice
Sure,
Paul?
I'd love to tell you. Well, I am from Washington, D.C. I was
Okay.
born there, but I have Grenadian roots.
Okay.
Strong Grenadian roots, come from a big family. My dad is from St. David, one of 12 children, and education was big in our family. Uh, Mainly because education is a way of learning, but learning a new skill to help your family, your community, and possibly the world. My mom is the same way. They're both educators,
Okay.
and I kind of fell in line with that.
Your mom is Grenadian as well?
She is Grenadian now. She was
Okay.
born in the States.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Right,
But they're
right,
both
right.
educators and they've devoted their life to shaping minds and youth. And I kind of fell in line. My background is in public relations and business. And then I went on to law school, but writing has been a love of mine. Yes.
So your passion is to write
Yes, ma'am.
and spiritual warfare.
Yes.
What is
Yes.
that about?
We have to talk about it. We really have to talk about it. And the idea for spiritual warfare came to me because I just took a step back one day and I said, what's going on in the world? Why is there such a disparity between the rich and the poor? Why do some people have an abundance, an
Right.
over excess, and some people have nothing and they're struggling to survive? There were a few statistics that I found. One of them being was that the top 1% in the world own 50% of the world's wealth. The top 3% control about 90%.
Wow.
Yeah. And when you hear people going hungry and starving and not having enough to eat, but then you also hear that about 1/3 of the food that we produce, the entire world produces for human consumption, goes to waste, it's deplorable. And so my idea was, why is this happening? What is going on? So I had a thought in my head, and I said, what if all of this is by design? What if someone is in the background turning the wheels in making this happen? And so the story I thought about and it came to mind was a young woman who's just career driven, who is very selfish and only thinks about herself and only wants to make the right connections and doesn't care about anyone else. And long ago, she had a falling out with God for a reason that you'll find out in the book. And she finds herself in the middle of this spiritual tug of war because there's a demon by the name of Jade who's been sent back to Earth to collect as many souls as possible. The more he collects, the longer he stays. But little does he know that God has sent someone to look over her and is trying to pull her in the other
Right. Okay.
direction. So that's what the book's about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you believe that is fiction.
It is fiction.
Do you believe that as well?
I truly believe it. That's my personal belief. I believe that there is a God for us all
Right.
who's looking over us, who's given us gifts. And I think he wants us to support each other and love each other. And we're here to do that. And I believe we all have a purpose. I really do.
Tell us about the reach of the book. When did you write this book?
I wrote this book, and this is a story in and of itself. I wrote this book years ago. I think it was around 2011. I wrote
Okay.
the book. And you know how you get an idea about something and you just got to get it out on paper. Every day I was writing. And then I kind of put it away because you're a little bit, oh, will anyone like this? I don't know. And I put it out to a few people, and a few people said, I don't like it, and I just put it away.
Do you
And
think maybe it was Jade?
I know, it might have been the demon. It might have been the demon. But then I said to myself, you know what, let me look at it again. And I looked at it again years later with fresh eyes, and I said, I have to get this out. I just
Right.
have to put it out there. And it's been well received, so I'm
The
very happy
feedback
about
has
that.
been encouraging, and
It has. I've gotten a few notes from people, and they've said, this moved me, and it really made me think about how things are. you
Right.
know, why things are the way they are. So I appreciated that. And if it touched one person, it did its job. So
What does your mom and dad think about this book?
they love it. Well, of course, parents bias, but no, they really love it. My mom said that when she was reading it, she was like, Candace wrote this? Like, she's a little bit like, wow, my child did this. But she said it touched her in a way where she was kind of reflecting on some of the choices that people were making. And there's a few touching moments in the book where you see real human connections that people make. And even though it's fiction, there's just so many real world themes, you know? So,
Reading it probably gave us some deeper insights into this is Candace, this is my Candace. I
exactly.
probably have a hand in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, wait, I didn't even know she felt about
Mm.
this way about a lot of things. But you know, you experience things in life and you see how God works in your life personally, and then you just feel compelled to share it with the world. So,
What are you hoping this book would do?
well, Janelle, I'm just hoping that a few people think about their choices because I've always believed that God's given us a few gifts. And practically, the earth, what gives us all the resources we need, each other. You know, you have a friend, you have your family, intellect, so the ability to know what to do with what you have, and then free will. So we all have choices, and I just want people to stop and think about the choices that they make and how it might impact someone else.
Okay.
So,
Writing a book like that, would you think it influences your life and some of the choices you make now? People are probably saying, if Candace is writing a book like that, I'm probably expecting certain types of behaviors from Candace.
you know, and the thing is, I want people to understand that I am not perfect by any
Well,
means.
of course.
Oh no, no, not by any means. Um, the book is more so about when you feel compelled to do something, because sometimes I feel God places us in certain positions and he uses people who are not always prepared. They're not the perfect people, but in the process of doing it they kind of transform. And I feel like I'm on a journey now, you know, growing in my faith. You're gonna stumble, you're gonna fall. It's not gonna be easy at all, but the idea is just to keep working at it a little bit each day and just to think about other people more. So,
Right. To help
yeah.
people. What else can we expect from you? Is this your first and last, or you plan to continue?
I plan to continue, Janelle. My goal is I have written, I finalized the second book, the
Okay.
sequel.
Really?
Yes, I
Wonderful.
have finalized it. So I'm hoping that it will be released sometime this year.
Okay.
And then I'm also working on other projects now too. I'm just trying to utilize all my talents and just see what happens. So I started making animated shorts, like
Okay.
short videos for YouTube, and I released the first one January 1st.
Okay.
So, and that one's about pregnancy and, you know, choices and dealing with hard situations. So it's there.
I mean, January 1st, today is the 4th, but I mean, we're looking at 3, 4 days.
Yes.
What has the impact been so far, though? How has it been received?
It's gotten a few views,
Okay.
and a lot of people have said this is really nice. They said it's touching. They liked it a lot. So I encourage your listeners to check it out for themselves and see. And I'll make sure that I
I'm
provide
sure
them.
they would. You'd give us a link and so
Yep.
we can go and check it out. But the writing process for you, how long is it?
Oh man, you know, honestly, I'm the type where I can sit in front of a computer and just kind of stare at the screen for a long time until something just comes to my head. And so there's no set time. It's kind of just a little bit each day.
Okay.
Just write a little bit each day. And I encourage anyone who wants to write to go for it. And that's the best method, you know, just
Because you work otherwise,
yes.
right? And then
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where you just find some time, an hour, 2 hours, and just get your thoughts on paper, and you can go back and edit later, and that's what I typically do.
going back to your stats, so your research, you found that 1%
Yep,
control
50%
50%
of the world's wealth.
of the wealth.
Yep.
I'm wondering who else knows that? Who
you
else
know,
knows this?
this is actually, I looked that up to yesterday as
Right.
well, and there have been studies on this. So we see people who have so much. I remember a couple years ago one of the celebrities, I don't remember who it was talking about how they had a diamond encrusted iPod. And when you think about people who are dying in diamond mines,
Hmm.
and for you to flash your iPod that has diamonds all over it, it's just a disconnect.
Right.
And uh, it, it bothers me that we don't think about that more. So,
Hmm. Sometimes too, I look at people. We have a huge natural disaster or so, and I see the very wealthy and they're rallying aid. I'm like, you could fix this whole process
oh,
like
this is
this,
true.
you
This
know.
is
But
true.
but they still rally. They take from the few who don't have, and I mean, the widow's mite comes into play. The poor woman, you know, who probably should be feeding her six
Yes,
children,
yes.
she would still give. And I'm thinking, you could fix this, you alone,
And
but you see it all the time.
you see it all the time. And my father actually told me one time sometimes it's the poor who have the most giving spirit. And the
Hmm.
reason why is because they know what it's like to have
Hmm.
nothing. And so when you know what it's like to have nothing, you want to make sure that someone has something, just a little bit of something. So,
But
yeah.
but for the people who might be aspiring to get into that 1%, how do you do that?
How do you
No,
get
I mean,
there?
how do you?
Oh,
Because some of it is just so crazy.
it
It's
yes,
ridiculous,
it is.
and like you rightly said, the things they do with it, yeah,
It,
it's the
and
imbalance is just
it's
it's
too
crazy. It's
much.
crazy, and you see the hunger, you see the starvation, you see people. Sometimes your life change in a matter of minutes these days. In this part
Yes.
of the world, we look out for the hurricanes in our part. For you right now might be terrorism. I saw yesterday somebody was talking about whose button is bigger.
Oh my.
They-
Yes, exactly.
I mean, but
Yeah,
yes, but it's real and the imbalance is crazy.
it
So
is.
I need to read this book. I need to find out more about Jade and how she's working.
I
Sounds
would
interesting.
I would love for you to. Yes,
I would
yes.
tell us how we can access the book.
Yes, you can actually go to Amazon.com, and if you type in Candace Paul Spiritual Warfare, it will pop right up. You can also type my name into Google and it'll pop
Okay,
up as well.
so we can get
Um,
it online.
you can get it
Right.
online, and I'm also trying to work with some bookstores in Grenada to see if I could just bring it over so people could go get a hard copy. But
Right.
there's a hard copy available online as well. So
Wonderful. So we can go in and get a read and learn more about. I know a lady. She's probably listening, and I know I'll talk to her later about it because she believes
oh
there are
yes,
demons out there driving a lot of the processes and the wrong things that we see.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it may be fiction, but
There's
maybe
some,
more than fiction
it's
that
just
we should
something to
probably
think
be.
about.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing, Candice.
Thank you so much
We
for having
appreciate.
me.
We
Yes.
appreciate. So, folks, go there and get the book. It's on Amazon. Candice, tell us again, just Candice Paul.
Yes,
We look
Candace
for.
Paul, Spiritual Warfare. It'll pop up.